Jason, thanks. As he just mentioned, 5 days until the election, and we are ready for more visits to Wisconsin from many candidates.
Elk Grove, Wisconsin remains in the political spotlight as the latest Marquette University Law School poll shows Harris leading Trump 50-49 among likely voters. Samantha Cavalli has reactions from both parties on the final push as part of our Your Voice, Your Vote coverage.
After dueling visits to the Badger State on Wednesday, both candidates are set to be back in Wisconsin on Friday evening, with Trump set to speak in Milwaukee, and Vice President Harris will be speaking right here in Appleton before she heads down to Milwaukee herself. In years past, Wisconsin has been known as a battleground state for many presidential elections, and this election is serving to be no different. Harris's visit to the Appleton area is a first among the candidates for this region. She also campaigned recently in Green Bay and Ripon. Emily Cephos, chair of the Democratic Party of Outagamie County, says it's an exciting time to have Harris come to recognize the importance of Outagamie County as a possible tipping point in the election.
I think that when it comes to addressing the needs that families and working folks are experiencing in our state, there's a clear contrast, and we continue to see that laid out in both of their platforms.
On the other side of the aisle, Trump has made multiple trips to Northeast Wisconsin within the past year, including 2 in the Green Bay area. Pam Van Handel, chairwoman of the Republican Party of Outagamie County, attended Wednesday's rally at the Resch Center. She hopes Trump returns to office to run the country like a business and help the economy grow.
It would be amazing. I think we need him in office for the economy, for our border. We really need him in office, and it would mean, well, obviously, all the state would love it, but the whole country needs him.
Action 2 News has learned from Van Handel that Vice President Harris will be traveling to Little Chute Friday night to speak at the high school. She says supporters of Trump will be outside the high school as well. In Appleton, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.